Day 29. You know what's wild? In this age of instant digital payments and contactless everything, there's this place at the end of Chile's famous highway where you literally can't get cash from an ATM, and your fancy credit cards are about as useful as pieces of plastic.
That's such a fascinating contrast. A place where WhatsApp works, but your Visa card doesn't. What does that tell us about how disconnected some parts of the world still are?
Well, it's actually a perfect example of how technology adoption isn't linear. Villa O'Higgins, this tiny town at the literal end of the Carretera Austral, has become this accidental case study in what happens when modern travelers meet traditional infrastructure.
And I imagine this creates some interesting situations for travelers who aren't prepared for it.
Oh, you have no idea. Picture this. You've just finished this epic journey through Patagonia, you're ready to head home, and suddenly you realize you need cash, like actual physical bills, to buy your bus ticket. And there's no ATM for hundreds of kilometers.
So, what are the actual logistics of getting out of there? I mean, you can't just call an Uber or hop on the next flight.
Well, that's where it gets really interesting. You've got this company, Buses Águila, that runs services only on specific days. Miss your bus, and you're looking at potentially days of delay.
That's exactly the kind of detail that modern travelers might not even think to check for.
Right. And here's the kicker. Even if you make that first bus to Cochrane, you're almost certainly spending the night there because the connecting buses to Coyhaique rarely line up for same-day transfers.
You know what this reminds me of? It's like those old travel narratives from the 1800s where getting somewhere was half the adventure.
That's such a perfect comparison. And the thing is, this journey actually follows a kind of natural progression. You start in Villa O'Higgins, this super remote spot, then gradually work your way back to civilization through Cochrane, then Coyhaique, and finally to Balmaceda Airport.
Like a sort of decompression chamber for travelers, helping them readjust to the modern world.
Exactly. And what's fascinating is how the seasonal changes affect everything. The bus schedules actually change depending on the time of year, which is something you'd never see in more developed transportation systems.
Well, that makes sense when you think about it. These routes are dealing with some of the most extreme weather in South America.
And you know what's really interesting? The companies that run these routes, like Buses Águila and Buses Don Carlos, they've developed these schedules based on decades of experience with local conditions. It's not just arbitrary timing.
So it's really this blend of traditional knowledge and modern necessity, like using WhatsApp to book a bus that only takes cash payments.
You've hit on something crucial there. This whole return journey becomes this fascinating lesson in adaptation. You have to blend modern planning tools with old school flexibility and patience.
And I suppose that's really what travel should be about, right? Learning to navigate these spaces between the modern and traditional world.
Absolutely right. And here's what I think is the most valuable takeaway. This kind of journey forces us to slow down and actually process our experiences. You can't just zip from wilderness to city life in a matter of hours.
That gradual transition must actually be beneficial for travelers, giving them time to reflect on their experiences.
It really is. And in a way, these seeming inconveniences, the cash only systems, the overnight stays, the seasonal schedules, they're all part of what makes the experience authentic and meaningful.
So, in the end, what might look like limitations actually become features of the journey.
That's exactly it. And maybe that's the real lesson here. Sometimes the most meaningful travel experiences come not from everything working perfectly, but from learning to embrace the complications and challenges as part of the story.